Hey, Fantasy Junkie, have you taken a chance to take a look at our website yet? TestosteroneSports.com is the bomb. You got to jump on there, especially tonight after the show goes down. We do this little thing called the Fat Chat. It's essentially a live fantasy chat. Other rubes just like you come on there, talk with myself, with Jeff, with Zach, Easty, all the guys that put TFS together. It's really a chance for us to get to know you and to help you with the matchup questions in your fantasy football league. We know it's playoff time, and Jeff, the Fat Chat goes off every single week. We enjoy doing it. It's one of the core pieces of what we do here with TFS.
Oh, most definitely. Being able to interact with everybody out there is part of the reason why we started this in the first place. We wanted to be a fan-first approach at fantasy football, to be fully interactive so that we could put ourselves out there. Well, I mean, honestly, what other site can you go to and have that easy access to the people who produce it? We really, really want to take an investment in you and what you're doing on a fantasy football level, because that's how much we love it, and we'd love to do this as a career one day. So we realize that in order to do that, we need to build our base, and that's where you guys come in. Thanks for being the third part of Testosterone today and all the weeks in the past and going into the future.
Pittsburgh plays host this week to the Dallas Cowboys in another one of the great NFL games going off this weekend. Jeff, this is one that I can't wait to watch. The Steelers are one of the best teams in the AFC. They're trying very hard to land that number 2 seed. Now, they face a Dallas team that's really heated up since Tony Romo came back, but Dallas has a little bit of an issue this week. Their stud running back, Marion Barber, may not play in this game, and if he does play, he's going to be playing through some pain. He's got a dislocated toe, I believe, and that's a bad omen for Dallas. What do you think is going to happen in this game? The Cowboys have to win to keep that playoff hope alive.
I honestly think that Pittsburgh is going to crush here. I think that Dallas is a little bit of a paper tiger, to be totally honest with you. They're a little bit of a prima donna type of a team with all the stars that they got. But look, their defense isn't that great. They yield a lot on the ground. They don't get that great of a pressure on the quarterback. If it wasn't for the great athletes they had in their secondary, they would give it up like crazy through the air. So I think that Pittsburgh is a legitimate contender out of the AFC, and I think especially at home in a colder type of a game, Pittsburgh's going to get their offense going. I love the running game. Right now they're mixing in Mewelde Moore and Willie Parker, so they've got their own style of clash and smash or something like that.
Right.
You know, flash and dash, whatever you want to call those guys. But they do a really great job of running the ball. And then Big Ben is as good at managing the game as he is bringing his team back in the fourth quarter. So I love what they've got going on. A lower scoring game in my opinion. But at the same time, I do think Pittsburgh will win.
Interestingly enough for me, these two teams are the two teams I picked to make the Super Bowl early on in the season when we did our preseason predictions. I like Dallas out of the NFC, and I picked Pittsburgh out of the AFC. I'm gonna flip the script on you here, Jeff. I'm gonna go the opposite direction. I think Dallas, being hot as they are right now, has a legit chance to go into Pittsburgh and win the game. No, I did not stutter, and I'm about to tell you why. Basically, Dallas is a completely different team with Tony Romo at the helm. And I remember back about a month or so ago that this Pittsburgh defense ceded 3 touchdown passes to Peyton Manning in Pittsburgh. That started the Colts' hot streak. And I'm telling you, when Tony Romo plays at his up to his potential, the weapons in the passing game give him a chance to throw 3 or 4 touchdowns here in this game. I like Jason Witten as a fantasy play. They don't really have anyone on the outside that's tall enough to match up with either Owens or Roy Williams on either side. They've also got playmakers at their 3rd and 4th wide receiver positions. I think the fact that the running game is going to have to be abandoned by Dallas could end up playing into Dallas's hands. I love Romo, and I think the passing game's gonna put up points, man.
You're crazy. You know it's coming, dude. You're crazy, man.
We'll see.
You're crazy, man.
That's a great omen, because every time Jeff says that, I end up being right.
And that's what's crazy about it, too, dude, is when they have to abandon the run, if Marion Barber's got that bad toe, he's going to have a hard time cutting. Felix Jones still has yet to come back onto the field.
He's on IR.
So they're going to be putting Tashard Choice out there. All right? They're not going to be able to run the ball. They don't stop the run that well, so Pittsburgh's going to play ball control style here. They're going to throw the ball when necessary, and they're going to run their 2 running backs. I just think it's going to be an easy victory for the Steelers, a team who's, to me, head and shoulders better, more well-coached, and I just see Pittsburgh coming out on top.
Well, we're both in agreement about one thing here, and that is that you've got to really consider putting Marion Barber on your bench for this game. He may only get 8 to 10, maybe 12 carries, He didn't play at all in the second half of their game last week against the Seahawks. If he tests it early and it hurts, he will shelf it, and that's where I think the passing game is going to become the focus of Dallas's attack. That's why I like Dallas's players from a fantasy perspective. I think they will have to throw a lot to try to beat Pittsburgh.
It's a fun disagreement again, man.
It's going to be a fun game to watch.
Don't ever do it again.
Washington travels to Baltimore, where rookie quarterback Joe Flacco continues to impress. Jeff, if it weren't for Matt Ryan and what he were doing, we'd be singing the praises of Joe Flacco. This kid has really come along quickly.
Yeah, he's done a very nice job, and he was a later pick in the first round by Baltimore, which I love, to see them be willing to kind of go out on a limb like that. He didn't have much clout coming out of college, but I'll tell you what, his poise in the pocket, his understanding of their playbook and what they want to do on the field really he's done a great job, and it really is a testament to their offensive line, because they lost Jonathan Ogden to retirement at the beginning of this season.
Right.
And for all intents and purposes, their line took a major hit, and he's just been cool under fire. So he's done a great job. He's got a great connection with Mark Clayton. I think that these guys are going to be a nice fantasy connection, and that will break out in the next year or so. So keep an eye on what they've got going on. And then as far as their running game, this isn't a real great matchup for them fantasy-wise against Washington. I think Washington will win this game, but at the same time, keep an eye on what's going on long term.
Yeah, I actually disagree with you here again. I think Baltimore's playing at such a high level right now. They're putting up 30 points a week. Last week, Willis McGahee got no carries, and they still put up over 30 points. Todd Heap has really shown his face here in the last couple weeks. After essentially the first 10 games of the season, he did nothing, no touchdown catches. He's now scored touchdowns in 2 of his last 3 games. I picked him up in one of my leagues off of the waiver wire just today. He's a guy you could certainly pick up and consider playing. Look, Washington, not the same team they were earlier in the season. Clinton Portis is dinged. You should have listened to me a month ago when I told you on the show to trade Clinton Portis. I'm not backing off of that. He's not practicing now this week. Clinton Portis is a terrible play here against Baltimore. I think Portis is going to get completely shut down. I think Baltimore wins at home, going away by 2, maybe 3 touchdowns.
Hundo and a touchdown for Portis this weekend, guys. He's going to be great, and he's always really, really good when he doesn't practice.
So are we going to bet lunch on this one?
Ever since you're just trying to throw the mojo into your side, but ever since he's gotten this injury, he's put up 150 yards a couple times. So
how did he do last week?
He's done very, very well. Last week they had a really tough matchup,
against Baltimore, the number 1 rush D in the league.
They're not. It's
number 2. Sorry, number 2. You're right. Baltimore sucks against the run.
Portis
will run wild.
I think the Portis is going to have a hundo and a touchdown.
All right, mark it down. Tampa at Carolina, a very fun Monday nighter, which will likely decide the NFC South. Jeff, these 2 teams are both tied right now. The winner of this game takes the first place, very reminiscent of last week's Sunday nighter between us and the Bears. Carolina has been playing very hot lately, led by none other than DeAngelo Williams, who had 4 rushing touchdowns last week. I don't know if that trend continues, but one thing is for sure, this game's going to be hella fun to watch.
Yeah, and for DeAngelo Williams, the big knock on him was that he wasn't big enough to move the chains, but all 4 of his rushing touchdowns last week were from the 1-yard line. So apparently he's a pretty good goal line back. I thought that John Stewart would get in there a little bit more for a couple of those, but when you got a guy who's popping at that level, you just go ahead and continue to give him the ball. And I was really pleased and we were very fortunate to see the game plan that they took against the Packers, and what a beautiful thing that was to see the Packers just crumble and fold
Green Bay
for the first time.
Absolutely.
In Green Bay, just put up a big goose egg and really have one of the worst games of their season, except for when they played the Vikings. It was just really, really nice to see, and I love to see Steve Smith and the way that they kind of went for the jugular at the end of that game when the Packers had kind of pushed out by not going for it on 4th and 1. They kicked the field goal. Well, that was all that John Fox and his boys needed to go for that big-time play. When you got Steve Smith, you may as well, especially if they're going to single cover him. So
yeah, Steve Smith,
it was great.
Steve Smith needs to stay in your fantasy lineup. He's notorious for popping big in big games. That's one of the themes that we talk about often here on our show. Play your star players when they're in the limelight, specifically Sunday night and Monday night. I love Steve Smith here at this matchup at home. On the flip side, Tampa Bay, a team that you can't really overlook, but still a team that doesn't have a lot of fantasy relevant players.
Yeah, well, I think that one of the reasons they're so good is because they have the best coach in the NFL, in my opinion. I'm a huge admirer of John Gruden and what he's done. For as young as he is, to have the amount of success that he's had, he never loses his teams. They always fight in every single game, and he does it without a whole lot of talent. So go ahead and watch this game with enjoyment. But the only player I really like is Antonio Bryant.
Kurt Warner gets to square off this week with the team that he kind of came up with. Again, St. Louis traveling to Arizona. Kurt Warner loves to go against his old team, the team that he won a Super Bowl with.
Sure.
And, I mean, why wouldn't he love playing St. Louis? They completely suck in all phases.
Oh, yeah.
And the Cardinals need a win. They got to get going on a positive streak again here. They've had 10 days to prepare for this game.
Yeah, and they had a tough loss last week, but Kurt Warner still threw 3 touchdowns, so he's going to be able to light it up to the tune of 3 or 6 or something like that.
Right.
So you got to love all of the Cardinals here. And then on the St. Louis side, if Steven Jackson plays, insert him in your lineup. He showed that he can take a few weeks off, come out and be good, and all the reports so far are that he feels good. He's the only guy that they got realistically. Donnie Avery could get off, but as a rookie, he's still too inconsistent to trust.
Yeah, especially during the fantasy playoffs.
For sure.
So we're going to be back with one final segment and close down the show. Don't go anywhere. You're locked and loaded to TFS.
Yeah.